Good afternoon, folks. Chief Meteorologist Nick Lilia here with a look at your tropical update for September 16th of 2019. Brought to you by the good folks at Pine Belt Gutters. Got a lot going on in the tropics. Like always, it is near the peak of hurricane season here. Peak was actually September 10th. We're on the slide downward. We actually end up with a secondary peak as we head through parts of October. As cold fronts start to swing through here, we end up with stuff that gets kind of cut off and into the Gulf of Mexico or just off of the East Coast. But officially, we're on the downslide. However, here in South Mississippi along the Gulf Coast, the last couple of years, October has actually been more active than September for us. Again, that's for the whole Atlantic. Next one up, Imelda. Sure. Jerry's after that, and then Karen, Lorenzo, Melissa, and Nestor. I just hope we don't have to use any of those. It looks like right now that we're probably going to end up with an I and a J. The official forecast, I believe, from the NHC took us all the way to K or further. So we'll have to see what happens. And we've got a couple of things to talk about. We've got the cluster of stuff into the Gulf of Mexico. We've got Humberto out here, which is starting to get a little bit of an eye in here. This thing isn't quite as robust as Dorian was, thank goodness. But it is starting to get a little bit of an eye in here. Swinging things out and into the open Atlantic. We've got another wave approaching the Greater and Lesser Antilles, getting into the Caribbean. Back in behind that, we've got Invest 97L down here. Another wave back in behind that. Another wave back in behind that. It's almost like it's the peak of hurricane season or something. Things are reasonably active across the tropics. I will say this, though, for all of the activity and all of the waves that we have, right now the National Hurricane Center is only keeping tabs on 2 areas outside of Humberto here, which is forecast to be a Category 2 as it approaches Bermuda. Current wind speed at 85 miles an hour, gusting to 105, and it is moving off to the east-northeast at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. At the latest check, it was moving at 7 miles an hour. NHC is also keeping tabs on this area just off the coast of Texas. You saw the explosion of convection overnight. It seems to be waning maybe a little bit this afternoon, but a 20% chance that we do get development on this through the next 2 to 5 days as it moves ashore. It's probably going to run out of time before it truly develops into something. However, I wouldn't be surprised if the National Hurricane Center, if we get enough development in here, didn't go with one of those PTC advisories for parts of Houston. Really, this is just going to be a rainmaker for them, though. Not necessarily something where they have to deal with crazy wind or incredible surge or anything. But they are talking about getting somewhere between 5 to 10, maybe even higher, inches of rain across parts of South Texas, Houston, Corpus Christi, and points nearby and between. The other place that we're keeping tabs on with a 70 to 90% chance of development is out here into the open Atlantic. This is kind of sandwiched between one wave here and another wave back here. But this one is probably going to be our eyesore, our Imelda, as we head through the next, again, 2 to 5 days. A tropical depression, probably a tropical storm, and depending on which model you look at, perhaps even a hurricane as well. It also looks like perhaps over the next couple of days, not necessarily this wave, but the one back in behind that one may spin up into something as well. All right, spaghetti plots on Humberto real quick, just for folks that maybe know somebody that's traveling to Bermuda, or maybe you're planning a vacation as we head through the next couple of days. I will say the spaghettis look pretty ominous as you head out through Wednesday. You're going, oh man, they're making a beeline right for Bermuda. The good news is that most of the models do take it off to the north before taking it through Bermuda. So while I still think there's going to be impacts there, it probably won't be as bad as a direct strike. It won't be like the Bahamas and Dorian, thank goodness. Also because it's going to be a Category 2 and not 5. All right, so here's over on the 700 millibar moisture 850 vorticity map, your little piece of riffraff that's going into parts of Texas, Humberto, 97L here, and then a couple waves back in and behind it, and the other one out in front of it. We'll set things into motion here, and you can see wave number 1 here ends up over land pretty quickly by the end of this week. Not as concerned about that. We've got Humberto leaving, not concerned about that. 97L, perhaps Imelda, we're going to have to keep tabs on. But here's something that's interesting that's actually cropped up in the modeling in the last about 24 hours. This little area right here. Back in behind Humberto, but out ahead of the next one, I think this is actually a little piece of junk off of the wave that's crossing over the Greater and Lesser Antilles right now. Gets toward the Bahamas, toward Bermuda, toward the Bahamas, and kind of drifts across the straits and into the Gulf of Mexico, and ends up right over the Gulf Stream, which and the loop current out here, not the Gulf Stream, the loop current out here, which could make for something interesting. I will say, within the modeling, it actually tends to look a little more ominous than it ends up being when you really get into the nitty-gritty details. But with this thing kind of hanging around, it's definitely worth watching as we head through the end of September. And right now, the forecast for next Monday here in South Mississippi doesn't call for any crazy amounts of rain or anything. And with this thing being off the coast, that would probably still stand, but it would give us something to kind of keep tabs on. Imelda back here kind of spins back around and pulls up shop just outside of the Bahamas. As you can kind of see, it kind of floats around out here and kind of stops moving as we head through the middle of next week. And then the next wave back in behind that starts to get its act together. It crosses through the central Atlantic. So there you go. There's your update for the tropics on September 16th of 2019. We got a lot going on out there. As of now, we've got Humberto, we've got two other areas that the National Hurricane Center is keeping tabs on, and probably two more areas beyond that, one in the Bahamas and one coming off the coast of Africa, that may bear watching as we head through the next couple of days as well. So again, for September 16th of 2019, consider yourself tropically updated.